Hey everyone, welcome to the last part of our little Copic series, and this time we're going to talk about building our own shelf. If you've not seen the first 3 parts of this series yet, they're also linked below in the info box so you can take a look at them. Now, I was pretty sure I wanted to store my Copics in a shelf, but I didn't really find a shelf which suited my needs. So I looked around, I looked online, I looked in local stores, but I found nothing which was 100% the way I wanted it to be. And I think I found like 1 or 2 websites where the shelf was pretty close to what I wanted, but they were really expensive. So eventually I decided to build my own shelf. So what exactly are the benefits of building your own shelf? First of all, you can decide how big it is overall and compartment-wise. Especially in terms of the compartments, I was never really happy with the shelves I saw in the stores. Second, it's way cheaper than a purchased shelf, and crafting makes happy! How do you decide on the dimension? There are 2 questions you have to ask yourself. How large is the space where you want to put the shelf? And how large should one compartment be? Now, these 2 points are completely up to you. Especially the compartments can be changed a lot. Like you can make squares, rectangles, both mixed together, different sizes, but I can tell you that squares are easiest, especially for your calculations. So just so that you know what I'm talking about, to have a general idea of what kind of shelf we're talking about, let me take you over to my shelf and I'm going to show you. Now, this is what my shelf looks like, and you can clearly see the squares, and I'm not only using this shelf for my Copics, but also for all my other stuff, and this has helped me organize my art supplies so much, because beforehand I had everything in little pencil holders, and it was always like, I was always rummaging around and trying to find my stuff. This shelf has helped me organize my stuff so much, and I have it right on my desk. It's always on display, and just seeing these whole colors standing there makes me want to use them. So let's switch back to my desk so that I can show you how you can build such a shelf. My shelf is made of foam board, and I've already used foam board for the creation of a nail polish rack. So I knew it's extremely sturdy, it holds large weights, and one thing which is also really cool is that it's really cheap. So in case you've never seen foam board before, it looks like this. So it has 1 sheet of plastic thingy thing up here, then there's the phone, and 1 layer of plastic thingy thing down below here. Now these are just the dimensions for my shelf. You've seen it now, and if you say the shelf looked good, I want to build it the same way, these are my dimensions. As I said, you can go from many points, like from a fixed area where you want to put the shelf, or as a second point, I also said compartment-wise, and that's what I did. I just took a look at my ruler and I decided that 7 centimeters is exactly the compartment size I would like, so 7.5 times 7.5, and that's how I calculated the rest of the measurements too. Now, one further thing you have to keep in mind, because with these dimensions here, you can't really do anything wrong. You just do whatever you want to do. But for the depth of the shelf, I would recommend you to think about this. I took 13.7 centimeters for the depth of my shelf for a reason, because sketch markers are 15 centimeters long, and chow markers are 14.9 centimeters long. Original markers are 14.5 centimeters long. I wanted my markers to stick out a little bit from the shelf. So I don't know whether you've seen this on video now, but wait a second, I'm just going to show you from the side. So here you can see that my markers stick out a little bit. Sorry for the shaky camera, there's not really a way around this. So you can see that the shelf ends here and the markers stick out here. So how exactly do you measure the individual shelf pieces you need? You need the biggest part of everything, which is the back. It's mainly white here, and this is going to be the back piece of our shelf. In my case, I always wrote the measurements of my shelf down here in brackets, but that's just as a guide. You use whatever you want to. You need 2 times the sides. I've colored them red for you. And you have to decide whether you want these sides to take the whole distance of the back or these sides, because you always have to think of the thickness of the foam board. My foam board is 0.3 centimeters thick, so I've included this information in all my calculations because 0.3 centimeters does not sound like a lot at first, but it is. It really is. If you forget it completely, you will have weird measurements which don't add up eventually. I decided that the 2 sides on the left and right would go the complete distance from up here to down there, so that I could cut identical pieces of all the horizontal ones. So I wrote X times horizontal pieces just because I don't know how many you want to use. I have 5 horizontal pieces, and they will go between these 2 side parts. So it's just like any other shelf, or like a drawer. You slide the drawer between the 2 sides. And you need X times vertical pieces. These vertical pieces are really just these small things here. So you'll need a lot of them. I have 28 vertical pieces in my shelf. Can you give me an instruction? Yes, I can. You start with the back piece. So if you use wood, go ahead. I trust your sawing abilities. If you use foam board and you've never used it before, I can just show you quickly how to cut this, because cutting foam board can be a little challenge in and of itself if you've never worked with it before. So I want to modify one tiny thing of my foam board. That's why I put measurements of one of those 28 pieces onto this residue. So how exactly do you cut this? If you make the mistake and cut through everything at once, you will end up with one good side, which is going to be the side pointing towards you, and with one bad side, which is the side pointing away from you. On this side you will have, like, I don't even know how to describe this. It will be, the paper will be all torn apart like here, just more extreme. So what exactly can you do to avoid this? So first of all, you're going to cut through one plastic layer and through the foam board a little, but you won't cut through the whole board. So let me just do this. Now I've cut through this layer here. But if we take a look at the back, there's nothing. Can't see anything. So what we're going to do now is, bam, fold this once, and now we can see here where exactly we cut. So I'm just going to put this more or less upside down and carefully slide through this part here. If you cut like this, you will have 2 nice sides. 1 and 2. So now we have created the back piece. Now you cut out the side parts. and you glue them to the back. You can use whatever you want as a glue. I use the hot glue gun, but you can also use other glue. It just has to be a good glue. So now you have attached the side parts, and you can go forward to the horizontal parts. Now, this part here was pretty easy. From this point onwards, I would recommend to mark in several places where you want to place your shelf pieces. Of course, you have to put markings to the sides so that you can see where exactly you have to place the horizontal boards. But you should also mark in other places, like back here once and twice, so that you put this piece in there in a straight line. The straight line seems to be a bit self-explanatory. Like, it sounds as if you put it in there and there, it will be in there completely horizontally on its own. No, it won't. Unfortunately, it won't. If you're working with wood, it's another thing. I'm pretty sure the wood will stay in one horizontal line when you work on this piece here, but if you work with foam board, it's still pretty flexible. It is sturdy, but it still is flexible, so I would recommend you to mark 2 times at the back here so that you have the complete control over the shape of this horizontal line. Now comes the fun part. Not. This is just, as I said, I had 28 pieces, so I had to glue 28 pieces in there. Yay! So, same thing, mark here at the front, but also down there in the shelf at the back, so that you know what you're doing there, and that you don't have a completely lopsided shelf. The 5th piece is optional. It's to decorate your shelf. I color the front of mine black. My foam board is white. The front of my shelf is black, as you've seen. The 6th part is also optional, but I elevated the front of my shelf. That makes it easier to pull the markers out and put them back in, because to pull them out they have exactly the same angle as your hand, because you always grab like this. You always grab from a higher point to a lower point, and also when you put the markers back in they will just slide back. So I paid €18.89 for my foam board. So you save a lot of money by building your own shelf. Of course, you can also store your markers differently, like in little bags or real pencil holders, and the possibilities are endless, but I prefer to have mine in a shelf because they're always on display. They encourage me to use them. If I had them in something which was like below my desk or something, I would probably never use them. So, if you don't know me yet, please feel free to click below onto the subscribe button. This would really make me happy. Next week is going to be the first week without a Copic video. Woohoo! Yeah, finally another coloring. Okay, so I hope we'll see each other then. Bye!